Hey guys, in today's episode, I do an unboxing video with my new LTD M1000 Deluxe. Stay tuned. What is up, you guys? It's your boy Luis Torres, and today is the second time I've actually gotten and received an LTD. And if you guys know me, I'm a huge ESP freak, so much so that I, for years, refused to actually even play an LTD. But I ended up getting one, which was the initial year, 1996. And that guitar is great. Just a few little tiny minor spots where they, of course, undercut in certain areas because they had to. It's not a $2,000 guitar. So a lot of guys were just like, bro, you need to get yourself one of LTD's, any of the 1000 series deluxe models. You're going to be absolutely fine. It will rival any of your ESPs that you have. So I was lucky enough to find one online for under $500 that happened to be an M1000, which is basically the M2 shape, and it's an Eclipse. So it has all of the abalone all over the fretboard, the headstock, and it arrived. And let's go ahead and cut this box open and let's see. Oh, it actually reminds me a lot of my ESP M2 Customs. And this one is a neck through body, so it's basically just like my ESP Customs. Floyd Rose, EMGs, 81s. Definitely have to clean it a bit, but weight-wise, it actually feels just like my other guitars. This one's made in Korea, but weight-wise, it feels great. I mean, it's almost identical. Let me see how they did that. Okay. Yeah, wow. Wow, even the cut itself is exactly the same. Oh, okay, there's just one minor difference there. But weight-wise, it's identical. How crazy is that? So this one is a flame maple top, right? So you can see that there. You can also see it on the headstock. But here's the difference between, say, this 1993 ESP M2 Custom is you can see that this thing started out with a 1/2-inch maple cap on it. And a lot of these ESP tops are actually, they're just veneers. So what I'm going to do is open, pull out one of these EMGs, because I'll switch out the pickups. I'll pull out the EMGs just to see if I can see whether it's a little tiny veneer or if it actually has a cap. But again, from my understanding, one of the spots where LTD or ESP decided to, do I dare say, cheap out on the LTDs is with the caps, the tops of these guitars where they're just, you know, little tiny 1/16 of an inch veneer on top. But weight-wise, this thing is crazy. It's actually really good. Let me see how... Huh. Yeah, it's actually pretty good. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to fast forward. I will clean up the fretboard. I will clean up the entire guitar. I'll pull out the EMGs again because I want to see what the cap is. Then use this thing, which if you haven't used it yet, you are absolutely crazy. This is the boost that I use for my EMG pickups. So instead of having a 9-volt, it's actually a little compartment with two 12-volt batteries in there. Here's the other one. And what that allows you to do is boost your EMGs, so it's not just 9 volts, it's 24 volts. And EMG pickups are good up to 27 volts of power. So, and you know what? The EMG tuners kind of look a little cheap. I mean, they're definitely different than the ones I have. So I'm assuming they're either made in Korea or in China. All right, guys, let me go ahead and play with this guy for a little bit, and then we'll put it through its test. What's up, you guys? So it is the very next day, Tuesday, the 12th of January. So after I introed my new guitar yesterday, I took it all apart. I put new strings on it. I cleaned the heck out of the entire guitar and oiled the fretboard, cleaned it, and tuned it down to C# standard, along with adjusting the Floyd Rose bridge. That way it balances out and its height versus its position with the string tension is perfect. So I'm going to start off with saying that this was my very first LTD that I got a few weeks ago. Someone had mentioned originally, like, hey, try to find one of the earlier models. And I actually let one fly by last year at some point, which I regretted. And then this one popped up and, of course, had to jump on it. So this is literally the very first year of the LTD. This one was made in Japan. So it is reminiscent of a lot of my ESP standards. So it has an ESP neck pickup. It has, you'll know that it's a first year because the serial stamp is on what would be the 25th fret or just below the 24th fret. And it's literally, with the exception of the top layer of the headstock, and that's probably it as far as, and the back plates or the back covers. Aside from that, it is literally an ESP standard. So I was really excited about it. But then a bunch of other guys were just kind of sharing like, hey, if you like that LTD, you're going to freak out if you were to get a 1000 series Deluxe by LTD, because it's literally next level, even better than the LTD first year model and ESP standards. And I was just like, let's take a look. So let me put that down. This is my new LTD. This is a 2005 LTD M1000 Deluxe. It's a neck through body, so it is in, par with it's supposed to be on par with ESP's customs. So those are all my customs right there. I have more ESPs, but those are all my custom line that I have. I've kind of spent a little bit on those since they tend to be fairly expensive. So I was excited about getting this guitar because a lot of people just said, hey, you're going to love the 1000 Deluxe model, especially the earlier years. So this one was built in Korea. So years ago, and I hate to go into the story just because I know you guys are just like, dude, shut up already. So years ago, I worked with this one guy and he was Korean, and his family were a well-off family in Korea. So he kind of, we went from New York City. We ended up taking a trip up to White-Faced Mountain because he was a skier and I was going to go snowboarding. And on our trip, he just kind of schooled me on the whole Korea versus Japan issue. And I'm like, didn't know there was an issue. So apparently Japan had, throughout hundreds of years, I don't know if it's into the thousands, but I wouldn't be surprised. But Japan has gone into Korea quite a number of times to basically take it over. And then Korea at some point was just like, you guys need to leave. And then they ousted Japan. So there's always been this rivalry between Japan and Korea. So his angle has always been, don't sleep on Korea, right? Because if a product is made in Korea, is made in Japan, and they outsource it to Korea, you're going to see a level of craftsmanship that you've never seen before, just because Korea wants to show up Japan. And of course, all of my ESPs are made in Japan. Here is a Korean LTD M1000. And let me tell you, and listen, I've spent so much fucking money on all these guitars. It is mind-blowing, just so you know. ESPs are expensive. ESP Customs are much more expensive. And I have a few, so I have a vested interest in ESP Customs being this, upper echelons of guitar production, period. The only thing that I can compare it to quality-wise is literally my $4,000 Paul Reed Smith, Custom 22 Leprechaun Tooth. But I will never, ever buy another ESP Custom. Think about that. I have never wanted to even associate myself with LTD. This guitar has literally made me rethink of LTD, because as crazy as this may sound, and some of you guys are huge ESP players and LTD guitarists, this guitar is exactly, feels, weight-wise, quality-wise, exactly like my ESP Customs. Exactly. Not worse, not, hey, something's a little different. Dude, exactly like all of my ESP M2 Customs. It's ridiculous. So the reason why I love the Customs and why I switched from ESP standards to Customs is just the weight that it has, the balance that it has, it's slightly heavier, and I just like that. I feel like, hey, I'm holding a guitar. I'm not holding, like my Kiesel Aries A6C, weighs like a pound. That's what it feels like. Balance-wise, it's fine, but it's just ridiculously light, and it's just like my ESP Horizon, that one, because I have another one, which is the other one, which is a custom Horizon. But this one, dude, even looking at it from the top, when I'm playing, I can't even tell which guitar I'm using unless I, kind of tilt it, and I'm like, oh, this is my LTD. Aside from the abalone around and including the LTD logo, which is made with abalone, it is exactly like my ESP's M2 Customs. So from now on, I will only be buying, unless I get a really good deal on an ESP Custom, we'll be buying these LTD Deluxe, which I would imagine is probably a custom because they're all neck through bodies, just like Jackson makes Dinkies, which are different than their soloists because they're just longer. So this, without question, is exactly like the ESP M2 Custom. And again, I can't stress, as crazy as this sounds, I clearly have a bunch, but I'm not going to buy any more Customs because this is exactly that, as crazy as it sounds. So I'm going to be running this out of my Mesa triple rectifier. I'm running the Fortin, the new Maxon Fortin modded OD9 pedal. This is equipped with EMG 81 pickups on the bridge and neck, And I also have it boosted with the 24 volt. I keep saying 24 watts. And of course, Annie keeps pinpointing that. She's always just like, dude, really? 24 watts? It's 24 volts. So here's a funny thing. I don't know why I did this. So when I opened up the back cavity to replace the battery, you know, I'm always one of those guys, and I've been that kid since I was yay high, oh, it's a 9 volt. Let me just check how dead it is. And I'll just put it to my tongue. Of course, everyone's done it hundreds of times in their life. And dead. And I was like, all right, let me just replace it. So I ended up going into one of my drawers and pulled out the 24 volt pack, and don't even know what I was thinking. All I thought was, let me make sure that it's, you know, because it has 2 little batteries, just like a mini AA, and I plugged the 2 in, and dude, I put it to my tongue. What the heck, dude? Yo, if you want to have an idea of what it felt like, it's hard for me to describe. It's like I had 220 volts running through my body, but it was just in my tongue, and it was just 24 volts. But get yourself the boost on eBay. Again, it's the 24 volt boost pack that you can buy. And when you get it, just test it. No, don't. But if you feel like having an idea of what it felt like, try it. Yeah, I was kind of like taken by it for a few minutes. I was just like, oh my God, what did I just do? So super funny. Anyway, so let me go ahead and switch over to and I'm running out of my Mesa 412 cabinet. So. Okay, guys, so there you have it. And, you know, here's the one thing that I will add, because I tried looking at other LTD Deluxe models, is I can't really see the better quality in the LTD 1000 line. And again, I'm just talking about the M line, not the Eclipse, which is the EC, or the MH, which is the Horizon. But looking at what that is, it's very apparent, it's very clear of the quality. It's in your face, whether you're looking at the arrow abalone markers on the fretboard, the frets themselves, one thing that I always look for when it comes down to quality are the fret edges sharp? Because I feel like that's something that, regardless of its age, if they were done incorrectly, you're going to instantly feel that. And it's absolutely on point. Like, you know, keep in mind that this guitar, when it was brand new, was $1,200 or $1,199. And in comparison with my Washburn Solar, which was Ola's signature model, that thing, you can cut a piece of steak with the frets. I mean, the top and the bottom are so sharp, but at the time that was also $1,000 guitar. So to me, I sit back and I'm like, better quality. Like there's a bunch of guitars I have that I can kind of gauge what's a good quality, what's kind of Like I feel like Ibanez guitars made in Indonesia are just just like, as funny as people are saying that, maybe the new Jacksons that are made in Indonesia are just as good. Indonesia is known for meh. So if you had to make a choice, US first, guitars made in Japan second, because they just have this mindset of things need to be absolutely perfect. And next is Korea, because Korea is just like Japan. You think your product was good? Hold my beer. So theirs ends up being at a completely different level of the game. So US, Japan, Korea, outside of that, don't even bother. That's just me. And I own quite a few guitars at this point. I think that's my 45th guitar. And I'm not talking about 45th that I've owned. I'm talking about I have 45 guitars now, total. In cases, whether they're here on the side or around the corner where I have a ton of other guitars. I feel like, some countries, as far as manufacturing goes, are just naturally just going to be better for various reasons. So again, don't start taking all these guitars from me, because if they pop up, I'm going to start grabbing them. But there's a bunch of these LTDs, they're made in Korea, LTD M1000 Deluxes that are painted white. I've zoomed into all of those fretboards, and there's just something a little different. This one is actually the M1000 FM, which is flame maple top. So it is the translucent black. It's absolutely gorgeous. Again, I just haven't, I didn't get the chance yesterday to pick up one of the pickups to see how thick or thin the top layer is, but I'm assuming that it's just going to be, I think most LTDs are, just have a veneer on top. So that's all, you guys. Hey, hopefully you guys have learned something. I have in getting this guitar, and that is ESP. I absolutely love you, but you guys happen to make some LTDs that are just as great as my hyper expensive ESP customs, and I'm going to start getting some of these in the future. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't, and as usual, I will talk to you guys soon.